And a good day to you, Explorer Nation. John Lynskey here with the latest edition of Looking Back with Lynskey, and it's going to be a good one. It's all about the history of Miami or the lack thereof, and baseball and all the good things that come with that. Has been opening week of the Major League season, and so we are joined today from the great class of 1990, the premier, in my opinion anyway, the premier social media historian for Miami, a true marketing entrepreneur, the one and only Abel Sanchez. Abel, welcome, my friend.
Hey, good to see you, brother.
It's good to be here with you. Great that you're doing this. Couldn't come at a better time.
Agreed.
So, for those of most of us, I would think, that watch these podcasts are very social media inclined. And you, as I mentioned a moment ago, are on Instagram, certainly the up and coming historian of Miami. Miami Stadium on Instagram combines your love of baseball, your love of the city, your love of history. And there's been great historians in this city. Paul George, Carter Burris, and Steve O'Brien at Columbus, but you are the next generation. So let's get into how you combined your love of history, your love of baseball, your love of Miami, and your love of marketing, and all rolled it together on Instagram at Miami Stadium. So you are obviously also an entrepreneur, e-commerce. All these things come together perfectly. So go ahead, Abel, and tell us about Miami Stadium, Instagram, and how all this stuff works.
I appreciate you having me on, brother. It really came about organically, which I guess is oftentimes the best way that things come out, right? When there's really no plan, but you're passionate about it.
That's a Columbus trademark. No plan.
There you go.
But you're passionate about it.
So it's like, I might not know exactly where I'm going, but I want to go there.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a little bit beforehand. It was Thanksgiving 2016. I just finished my first year with the Marlins, actually. I was working as a concierge between that and e-commerce. And I just was looking for photos of Miami Stadium on Instagram. Could not find anything. Checked to see if there was a page dedicated to it. Could not find anything. I was stunned that nobody had that handle. So I checked, it was available, I got it. And just from there, spontaneously started dropping photos of the stadium. And that evolved into everything that it is today. It really is that simple. I'm this history buff, local kid, went to Columbus, of course, and it's all relative. Baseball, culture, history. If you're into one, you're probably into the others. So it all seemed like a natural fit.
Why Miami Stadium of all things, though? I mean, Miami Stadium, to my generation, meant a lot of things. Great minor league baseball, great spring training, and some of the most epic concerts of all time in the 1970s. But that's my generation. How does someone like you, why Miami Stadium? Seriously.
It was my second home. Honestly, I used to go there. I started going there right after the Orioles won the World Series in '83.
Okay.
84, I had neighbors. I grew up in Coral Gate, and they had relatives who were from Maryland. So they came down for spring break.
Okay.
Hey, let's go see the Orioles practice. Okay. So we go, and I'd never been.
Okay.
So you pull up and you see that glorious facade on the corner, and you're like, and that roof, that cantilevered
roof. Come on, man. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like it just, as being 11 years old, your eyes was like walking to the Orange Bowl was the next closest thing to that. So and you remember what that was like. So go in, and within 10 minutes, I remember Rick Dempsey came over and handed me his batting glove. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's it. Fourth wall was broken, and I'm hooked, and just come here, young man. Ended up being a bat boy for the Orioles over several spring trainings. I do a few games each year, hang out the rest of the games. And so that's why Miami Stadium.
And Miami in so many ways is underappreciated. Its history is underappreciated,
Yeah.
and we can talk about that. But Miami Stadium was a unique architectural structure, well ahead of its time,
Yeah.
and brilliantly designed. And of course, everything in Miami has a Columbus connection. JB Alamon, our good friend, class of '84, board member, organizer of Columbus Connects. Talk about how you and JB came to be connected by Miami Stadium and his connection to it.
Man, I mean, you want to talk about a blessing. I mean, this guy, I looked at it as like, I did the campaign for the historic marker and I raised funds. I did all that in 2017. And we crossed paths at the ballpark again when I was there with the Marlins, concierging,
Okay.
and I ran into him in the club. And we started talking. Give me your number. So I kind of filled it in on what I was doing, and which kind of blew him away. I said, "Look, man, this is your family's legacy here, right?
It was his grandfather,
His
correct?
grandfather is the one that built Miami Stadium.
Yes.
So back in 1949.
Jeez.
So we got the campaign done. I said, I'm going to have a simple dedication. And I said, brother, I need you there because it's not official if I don't have the Alamon family there, because this is y'all's thing. It's your legacy. And of course, he showed up. And ever since then, we hang out. We talk all the time. He's a terrific supporter of the page. And so that's kind of how we all came together, was over that historic marker campaign.
That stadium, again, for people my age and older, there was nothing. You mentioned it earlier, Miami Stadium and the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
There was just something about those places, okay? The atmosphere, the vibe, be it a football game, be it a baseball game, be it a concert, whatever it was, you knew you were in for an experience.
Oh, yeah.
Just walking in, you felt the ghost of decades past and all the great athletes and all the great performers. Nothing like it. And, it was a shame. Like so many things in Miami, the stadium was torn down in what, 2000, 2001?
2001, summer of '01.
Yeah. I remember driving by it and watching it go down. And I said, man, there goes my youth. There goes my father's youth. There goes everything.
Yeah.
And so many places in Miami like that have disappeared. Why do you think, Abel, there's a lack of appreciation for history in the great city of Miami?
That's the question, right? It's funny because when I did the marker campaign, I had reached out to the city and really never got much feedback. So like anything else in life, like you want it done right, you gotta do it yourself, right? Rolled up your sleeves and went and did it. So even they weren't really getting it. And I did all that on my own. The question, to me, it could be, we touched upon it as well. Miami is a city where you get a lot of people from out of town, not just tourists. A lot of people aren't from here originally.
They're from everywhere else.
They're from everywhere else.
Yeah.
So there has to be something to that. And then it seems over the past, especially 20 some years, a lot of development.
Yeah.
There could be other ways to phrase it, but we'll phrase it as development, where it seems like our history is tearing down our history. That's our history.
And our history, much like the people that come in, be it 100 years ago when my grandfather arrived, being from somewhere else, it's hard to put down roots and it's easy to forget what came before. And because Miami, I guess, is so progressive and it's a place of change and it's the cutting edge, you forget that lots of things happened in our great city, and it's people like you that keep it alive. I mean, we were talking, there are so many things about Miami that people forget. Tremendous sports history, all the great baseball players that played spring training in Miami. Your T-shirt that you're wearing right now, talk about that. A very unknown part of Miami baseball history.
Get to this side, the Overtown Miami Ethiopian Clowns at Dorsey Park.
Dorsey
and
Park.
at
Yeah.
Dorsey Park, right there in Overtown, man. And I've had a lot of people tell me, man, I've cut through there, 1,000 times and I never knew. I says, yeah, I know. That's part of the reason.
I never knew.
See, and that's amazing. And if you don't know, because brother, you know more than most. And it's local baseball history goes back over 100 years.
Yeah.
Here from spring training, from Babe Ruth to Jackie Robinson to Ricky Henderson, all the way up to the Marlins, right? And black baseball history from 1920 or so, even in the teens, up until the 50s. They weren't part of the Negro Leagues per se, but they did play a lot of those teams and they barnstormed. And so these guys, the Miami Ethiopian Clowns, used to wear face paint, war paint, and barnstorm around the country playing against other teams.
My old man, one of his great claims to fame was he got to see Satchel Paige pitch.
No way.
He got to go to the Ali Sonny Liston fight. So many great things have happened in our city that I love the fact you're keeping it alive. You may have started with Miami Stadium, but you have branched out into so many different fields. I don't know where you get your pictures. You dig and you dig and you dig.
Yes.
But those shots of what's now Bayfront Park in 1910, 1920, identifying landmarks, the Orange Bowl, Old Miami Field next to it. I mean, man, how do you do this? Where does it come from?
Dude, right? I ask myself sometimes, I say my shovel game is strong, right? Because I just dig. I'm just, brother, I'm just one of those guys just wired that way where it's like, I'm just curious. And somebody said to me the other day, man, you do so much research for your page. I said, you want the truth. If social media didn't exist, all of this would be on my laptop that we're talking on right now, like just for me to geek out to.
Yeah.
It's just something that I always like collecting for myself and knowing, and social media is almost the outlet to let all this content that I've been sitting on, in the proverbial vault, if you want to call it, to let it out to people, and people seem to enjoy it. So if y'all keep liking it, I'm going to keep dropping it.
No, it's fantastic because, the way I learned in school, the way you learned in school, there's still books and everything, but there is a whole nother way of educating. And Instagram is a tremendous educational tool because it's instant gratification.
Yes.
It's photos that young people relate to with the little thumbnail, not a lot of detail, but just enough that people dig it,
Yeah, you got to keep it short and sweet. Twitter is always 140 characters or less. And it even helped me for my historic marker, how to condense, because I only have a certain amount of spaces. And you just have to it's like a Navy SEAL team. You get in, you do damage, you get out, and that's it.
Much easier to write long than write short. That's for sure.
Yes, I agree.
And it's an art form, and you have got it down. And I love the fact that you've gone from just starting with Miami Stadium and baseball. By the way, you've gotten some tremendous compliments. My good friend Albert Bartholomew, who's around your age.
Oh, yeah.
He knows baseball inside out, upside down. Albert told me, he said, man, that guy has forgotten more than I know.
Oh, God. He said that.
It's impressive. Your stats, just the way it just like this.
It's all marinating in there somewhere, brother. Yeah.
But you found an outlet. And, it's great that young people are reminded of how good Ted Williams was.
I agree.
And how many years he lost in his career for military service, things that get overlooked, the Joe DiMaggios, Babe Ruth, all the way back, but also the other colorful characters that have lived in Miami, Mr. Capone's time down here,
God.
His old mansion.
Yes.
You find these interesting tidbits, and I look forward to it because I never know what's going to be coming next.
Cool. That's part of the deal. I don't either. You want the truth? It's just I randomly, like I said, man, I love to sit here and say this was all a grand scheme and a grand plan. Yes, I thoroughly thought this out. No, it just happened. It's organic. It keeps happening. And whatever on that day kind of pops into my head, or I'll see something or somebody will mention something and I'll pull it up and drop a quick post, man.
You know, and a lot of my friends have gotten turned on to it because you do your, as well as you do sports, baseball, etc. You do music equally well, and
That's the other passion. Yeah.
and the fact that you remind people of Criteria Studios,
Oh man.
perhaps the greatest studio in America, certainly for rock and roll.
Oh yeah. You get no
Oh,
argument from me. It's
the albums that were recorded there, please.
dude, we need a whole show dedicated just to the albums and artists that step foot in there. And it's funny, one of the single coolest things that came out of my page is I got not one but two tours of Criteria.
How
which
awesome
they don't
is that?
that's awesome, right? They don't do that.
No, that doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. And I didn't realize who I was DMing with, and they were following me. I'd posted some Criteria stuff, and I thought I was talking to maybe like an intern or what. I was talking to Trevor, who's the manager.
He's the man.
He's the man. And, you know, he grew up there. And so Trevor, I joked with him and I said, you know, I'm going to have to scale your wall one of these days, brother, because you're killing me. He says, hit me up next week. You know, we'll get you. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, he personally, every studio, every room where they house the mics, everything, all of that because of the page.
If those walls could talk.
Oh, they would scream.
Yeah, they would. And the walls that aren't there anymore, the Hollywood Sportatorium. I mean, my God, coming of age at the Sportatorium. I learned a lot there.
I bet.
Very early age, you know.
I know you did.
And now it's a shopping center. I think it's the Sedanos or something.
It's the Sedanos.
Yeah. And I think it's just, you know, the Beatles on Miami Beach.
Right. The Deauville.
The Deauville. Yeah. The Miami Pop Festival that led to Woodstock.
Another one. A lot of people don't know that. That was born down here.
Exactly. Jim Morrison, The Doors, Dinner Key. All of these things happen, and it somehow it slips through the cracks of our city. And you're the one that's stoking this fire. You know, again, our sports history. There's professional basketball down here in the early 70s, the ABA, the Floridians. Great basketball. And again, people think things started with the Heat. No.
Right. People don't know, they don't realize the Marlins go back to 1956 at Miami Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so do you have anybody helping you? Do you have a staff per se?
I wish I had some minions. I could use a few gnomes, right? It's funny you say that. One of the reasons, and I always said I never signed up to be a quote unquote influencer or personality, and no disrespect to anyone who does. Like I would say, do you, whatever you want to do. I know a lot of those folks are lovely. I didn't sign up for that. And it took me about 3 years to kind of start showing my face. I've had offers to do this before. I haven't really, I said, because for me, content is king. And I want everything to just be about that. But one of the nicest compliments I would get is people would write me and DM me, as they say, direct message and say, oh, you guys. It's always, you guys are awesome. You guys are great. I love you guys. You guys are killing it. And I'm sitting here like, it's this guy.
Yeah, it's not you guys.
It's not. I wish
this guy.
It's this guy. And so my boys at Cushy, who I do the merchandise with, Cushy Gigs, the MSG cartel, who are amazing. They're the ones who got me into doing the merch and kind of nudging me. It's like, look, it's okay to every now and then show your face and let folks know that you're kind of a one-man army doing this. And so, you know, here I am.
You know, where did it can be sports, it can be music, it's still history. Right. Where did your love of history come from? Where do you think?
It just always seemed to be there. It was just something I gravitated to as a kid. I always did good in history.
Yeah.
You know, math was there and other subjects were there and you did what you had to do. History was something that even when I got home, I noticed I would always kind of be reading up on that and always learning from the OGs at Miami Stadium, hearing the stories about, Jackie Robinson, the Dodgers were here in the 50s. And as a kid, you know, your head just explodes because there's no internet back then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So this is all word of mouth. You're getting this directly from the OGs who are there, the cigar chompers, like I used to call them, were the greatest teachers, you know, like, come here, kid, and Satchel Paige, and I saw so-and-so. And in Orange Bowl was the same thing. So it kind of just came from me listening to even uncles that I had, and a lot of the guys in the Ventanitas around Miami. You're hearing about, the old days, back in the day, yada, yada. And that between, I think, just being naturally wired that way, that curiosity that I'm still waiting for it to end, and it's not ending, dude. I'm still digging.
Oh, long may you run in that
Ah,
regard. Keep it going.
yeah.
The Orange Bowl, the Orange Bowl. There was, I wish more people could have experienced the Orange Bowl
Absolutely.
because it was right out of Gladiator. It really was.
It really was.
I mean, it was survival of the fittest, and I'm not talking about on the field. I'm talking about in the stands, and just the neighborhood environment, the no blocky, $10, no blocky. I mean,
Dude,
those guys. You talk about the cigar chompers.
yes. They
Oh
were
my
there. That environment, that's why I say you can't replicate. I call it mojo. It's,
yeah.
some people call it sauce. It's sauce, it's mojo. You can't replicate that. They could have built the Orange Bowl like 100 yards down the street and it wouldn't have been the same. It was something about those 17 acres, that spot, those houses, the roosters running around, the $10 no block, the shish kebabs, which we used to call cat kebabs because you weren't really sure what you were eating. But damn it, it tasted good and washed down nice with a few beers. So let's go. And that place shook.
Oh, it did
That
literally
place, you always thought you were
shake.
gonna die. It would shake, it would rattle and leak, and houses next to it. I knew people who lived in the houses next door that would tell me when there was a big play, the floor would vibrate of
Oh
their home.
yeah, man. I mean, and growing up when I did, I was very fortunate. I got to go to the very first Dolphin game.
Oh wow.
Joe Hour's kickoff return for a touchdown.
Nice.
The Jets Colts, the Joe Willie Super Bowl. I mean, what a great time to be a kid. Again, I learned a lot because things went down in there. A trip to the bathroom. Oh my.
That might be another podcast, and it might have to be, I don't know if you can get clearance and the rating on that. Would be what went down in those bathrooms at the OB, man. Like, people really don't know.
Oh, and when they had the open end and flipper in the tank, because Miami, in its own way, Miami still is a small town disguised as a big city because there's 6 degrees of separation to everyone in Miami. Everybody knows everybody who knows someone about something.
Yes.
But back then, there really was more of it was a smaller place, and it was just memorable. And yeah, I mean, Marlins Park is nice and everything, but
gorgeous structure.
It is a gorgeous structure, but you can't construct character.
No, you can't. I always say you can't get that on Amazon either. Apologies to Mr. Bezos. You can get everything else, sorry, Jeff. You can't. There's certain things, and they know that. I've met the new regime. I've worked with the old regime, and they're aware of the struggles that we're dealing with. And there's still people that won't step foot in there because, curse of the Orange Bowl and yada, yada, and they will not go into that ballpark. It's a beautiful park. I always say it would have been even more beautiful, I think, on the bay next to the AAA, and then with the OB still standing there.
Good point. And obviously the Dolphins prime time in the Orange Bowl, the Hurricanes prime time. Hopefully we've come full circle with the Hurricanes with Mario Cristobal, Alex Mirabal, etc. It's the dawn of a new old era, hopefully.
You can feel it. I'm telling you, man, it's palpable. You could feel it. That culture is changing, and it's changing rapidly.
Would you agree that Miami, for whatever reason, is a city of fair weather fans? Is that an incorrect statement?
To a certain degree, I'd say another way to put it is Miami's an event town.
That was very good.
You see that? You see what I did right there? Like,
very good.
And I had this discussion again with the Sherman Group and these lovely folks. They knew I was when they came back, and I got to talk to them. And I said, look, you have to understand that you want to, especially in baseball, where you're looking at 81 home games,
Yeah.
That's 81 events, and you're competing with everything from Wynwood to South Beach, and everything here is 24 hours, and everything's an event. People love showing up to events. It's why the playoffs and any kind of Super Bowl, World Series always, sells out.
Yeah.
But then where were you guys for the other 81 games or 8 home games for the Finns, so on and so forth, and Canes? So yeah, there is a combination. I don't know Fairweather, but to me, I just look at it as it's an event town, and people like to be under the big lights.
That's a great way of putting it. Merchandising. You have built yourself a nice little chain, and you did it the right way.
Thank you.
I love the story because, trademarks are everything, obviously.
Obvious. Oh, almonds.
The Allman Brothers,
Yes.
you have to have the trademark. You have to have the brand. I found it fascinating because I've seen your stuff, and it's great looking stuff. But, a lot of people in Miami don't sweat the details when it comes to a trademark or a copyright or whatever. You actually have the trademark for Miami Stadium. Tell us how that went down.
Yeah, what's right is right, right? If you're going to do something, right, and be all in and do it right, try to be original was the other thing. I didn't want to touch anything that's been done, old Marlins logos, Florida, anything like that. I just, if it's trademarked especially, I ain't going near it. I've been asked to do it. I'm flattered. I said no. It has to be original.
Okay.
Designs, which is, again, my guys at Cushy Gigs are amazing because it's my concepts and my vision, but I hand it off to them, and they're the ones that bring it to life in an amazing manner because we all speak the same language. So it's very easy. We're all kind of on the same page. So fortunately, everything's original on that end. As far as Miami Stadium, it's my business name. It's Miami Stadium Inc. I already had a business for several years. I work with Louisville Slugger, a few other folks doing projects like that. And then a few years ago, I said, you know what? Let me check to see whatever happened to that name. And the Miami Stadium Inc. group by J.B. Alaman's grandfather and a gentleman named Harry B. Tabor, who was his right-hand man here. After Alaman came from Cuba, they filed for Miami Stadium Inc. in November, December of 48, right before they were breaking ground. But they abandoned it in 1962. So it had laid dormant from 1962 till a couple years ago. And I checked with the state, and I think for like a few bucks, man, it was nothing. I got to amend my business name. So Miami Stadium Inc. is now my business name.
That's amazing that you did the research and you did it right.
Right. Always. Yeah.
Another thing that people will find when they go to Miami Stadium on Instagram, man, you hit all the great food spots, the old school food spots, that you got to be an OG to know about or remember.
Or remember. You try, that's, again, the evolution of the page. It started with Miami Stadium. And that'll always be the foundation. That's the name. That's everything. That's the heart and soul. But it's all relative. And people would even write me, hey, man, you got to do some Orange Bowl. Hey, do you remember this place over on Flagler? Oh, this place that served fritas or whatever. So I was like, okay. And I start dropping and people just gobble it up, man. So it kind of evolved into, I always say it's a baseball page masquerading as a cultural page.
It is a cultural page.
It is.
It really is. And Miami Stadium might be the tagline, but it's the history of Miami. And I love it because stuff I remember other people are now learning for the first time. And it just like at Columbus, we keep our traditions going. We all stand on the shoulder of giants. And we know that at Columbus. We don't necessarily know that about Miami. And you're doing a great job just shedding some light on the past of this city. People don't know that Amelia Earhart's last flight started in Miami.
Yes.
All these little fun facts.
Yeah, gems. It's deep history, man. Deep history. And that's all I'm doing. I always say I'm just a guy who schleps to work like everyone else, but I like to shine a light. And as long as folks, they seem to have embraced it, it's become a thing. You're doing something right when you're getting free cafecitos at Ventanas all over Miami. That's when I knew. I go, okay,
you've arrived, bro.
I think I've arrived, bro. When people walk around, dude, I what do you drink? Get a cafe. I'm like, all right, like I'm doing
Okay.
something. Yeah,
You're becoming an OG yourself, bro.
I'm there, becoming like I'm already there, brother. Look at these things, man. Like
Yeah, it
we,
happens.
we are.
Who's your favorite baseball player of all time, Abel?
Oh God, what a great
I know
question.
it's a tough one.
You know who? This might surprise a lot of people, because there's so many,
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
But I always say, here's the way I put it: if I'm starting a team tomorrow, Ricky Henderson.
No shit. Really?
He scored more runs than anybody. And
See?
that's
Okay.
the name of the game, right? So he was fun to watch. I paid money to watch him. He did everything well. I love Ricky.
Hey, that's a great answer. If you could go to one concert, who would you go see?
Ooh.
All right, two or three. Sometimes one's too hard.
You know what?
Pick a couple.
Zeppelin,
Yeah. Okay.
prime
Okay.
Led Zepp would definitely be up there. God, the Who were pretty good back in the day too, right? Yes, you know.
I do know the baseball stadium. The
You
most
saw that show.
I saw that show. My ears are still ringing. I still have clay from the infield between my toes. I wouldn't trade it
You
for
wouldn't
anything.
trade it for anything, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
they were pretty great. And your guys are amazing. Just because I would love to have seen Dwayne.
Yeah. Dwayne Allman with the Allman Brothers was unsurpassed. And the fact that they recorded at Criteria, the Layla album done at Criteria, part of the Rumors album, part of Hotel California. We can just keep going and
Oh,
going
you
and
can.
going.
That's a
Yeah,
whole other show.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. If you could eat at one place in Miami, where would you go?
Ooh.
I mean, you breakfast, lunch, dinner, you
You
could do it
know,
that way.
I'm a deli guy.
Yeah,
You know,
you are. Yeah,
my,
you
my,
are.
my inner Jew strong, brother. I'm an honorary member, so it's like Rascal House is a place, and Wolfie's, places like that I still miss. If I could go right now, Joe's.
Yeah, okay. Who's going to argue with that?
Yeah.
Here's a deep dive for you. South Miami, a place called Sam and Carl's.
Ooh,
Look into Sam and Carl's.
really?
Yes, a good friend of mine's family own that. It's right basically where the old Shula's in South Miami was. I forget what it's called now.
Okay.
Look into Sam and Carl's. There's your next deep dive.
There's my next deep dive.
So, brother man, if you were to tell people why they should go visit Miami Stadium on Instagram, what would you say to them?
It's simple. If you love Miami and you love, history, sports, culture, and that's going to be delivered in a very organic way. There's nothing corporate. I've always kept it, very pure. No religion, no politics. Content is king. It's very much me without being about me necessarily, which I think is
Yeah,
an art a lot of people don't master because they don't know how to control. But if you love Miami and history and all types of culture, even pop culture references, all that, then my page is kind of like the neighborhood bodega that has it all.
I couldn't agree more. Old Miami shit, as you say.
Old Miami shit. Yes,
There
sir.
it is. And listen, I look forward to it, because A, either I get to relive a memory, or B, I learned something new at a place where my family has been for 100 years. And that's saying something, brother, man.
Yeah.
So, Abel, thank you for taking the time to do this. You guys that are listening, check it out. Instagram, Miami Stadium. You can't go wrong. He's got great swag, great pictures. It's an education. It's fun. And this has been fun, my brother.
Brother, it has been fun and an honor. I love you to pieces, man. You know that. You're the man.
Seeing you a couple weeks ago at the Evening With thing, man, we had fun that night.
We very special night. You should have seen the turnout for this man. It tells you everything. When even Alex Mirabal was in the house, because everybody appreciates you, man.
Well, we pass it forward. We pay it forward, and you're doing this city a great service, and you're doing Columbus a great service. And I've had fun, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, brother.
I have a good Easter.
Hey, likewise.
All right. So, Explorer Nation, I hope you enjoyed that deep dive into the history of the city of Miami. Check it out, Miami Stadium on Instagram. Abel, we thank you. Everybody at home, have a great Easter, a happy Easter. We've got some interesting podcasts coming ahead. So, until next time, take it easy and adelante. Thanks, Abel.
Adelante.